Hey there, Jeff Lerner here, and in this video, I want to show you how to find happiness, how to live a meaningful life, and how to build a positive legacy. This is all the things that I think school should have taught you, but sadly in our world, it doesn't. I call this the 3x3 leverage formula. So stay tuned, and I'm going to take the entirety of your life, put it into one simple, pretty picture, show you how to make it better. All right, so let's start with ultimately the goal. What are we doing all this for, right? We want to be happy. We want to live a life of purpose, passion, fulfillment, progress. And that sense of progress is what gives us the sensation of happiness. Specifically, progress in closing the gap between our current life and our desired legacy. By desired legacy, I mean living the life we want, doing meaningful work, having that sense of progression toward the legacy that we want to leave. Progress toward our legacy is actually happiness. It's not all types of progress. We can be making progress in the wrong direction. We can be making progress in something we don't care about. But when we're making progress in a way that's in alignment with who we are and what's important to us, then we feel happy. It's actually impossible to feel unfulfilled in the present if you're not in an anxious relationship with the future or a regretful relationship with the past. But if you're fully immersed in the present and you're experiencing that sense of progression and alignment that you're going in the direction that you desire for your life, that's like impossible to not be happy, right? And given that less than 10% of our society self-declares as very happy, according to the General Social Survey, it seems there's a lot of this not happening. And so I built this framework to try to explain how you can make that happen for yourself, and especially how my company ENTRE, and this isn't a sales pitch, but secondarily, my company ENTRE, this is the framework we actually use for helping people achieve, not just make more money or learn a business or learn a trade, but really to holistically and comprehensively up-level their entire quality of life. So this is our framework, and I'm sharing it with you here, for free. So it starts with the ground, right? If we want to get up to the clouds of happiness that most people never achieve, we have to start from the ground that we're on, right? So what is the groundwork of our life for purposes of this metaphor? The ground is our environment, right? We're born onto certain ground. We're born into a certain family, certain environment, certain surroundings, certain culture, certain country or state or political system, certain economic system, right? It's where we start. And that's us down in the bottom right. You see my little picture of we are here on that ground, and we're trying to get up into the clouds of happiness. And usually when you talk about happiness, depending on the ground that you're standing on, the environment that you're in, you talk about happiness and passion and fulfillment and legacy and drive and purpose and these big visions for your life. A lot of times, the environment that you're in literally calls you out on the clouds and says, hey, get your head out of the clouds. Keep your feet on the ground. Life is, quit. Don't dream so big and you'll never be disappointed, right? Like lower your expectations. That, a lot of the environments we find ourselves in seem to think that lowering expectations is the key to happiness. I believe, and certainly at ENTRE we believe, that these clouds exist and there is a way to get there because some people do. And I don't accept a world where some people have capabilities and opportunities that none of us have. Again, it's all environmental, right? We can change our environments. Human beings are the only species that's born already into a state of disharmony with their environment. I think that every other species on Earth is born effectively in the place that they're supposed to be born, with the resources, in the food chain and the topography and whatever to make do. And if they end up not in the right environment, if penguins somehow end up migrating to the desert, they'll die and they won't keep doing it. Humans, we're the only ones that are, no matter where we are, we're always born into some degree of disharmony with our environment because we're meant to change our environment. We're meant to improve our environment. We have this sublime nature. We have hopes. We have dreams. We have the possibility of joy and fulfillment, not because we're meant to be denied those things, but because we're meant to go after those things. And the reason we're in disharmony with our environment is that's a clue, that's a signal that the way to go after those things that we're wired for involves reshaping our environment, right? That's one of the essential premises of this type of work. So to keep going, at ENTRE, we basically break the progression towards total fulfillment or towards creating a life of legacy into 3 phases. And as a practical matter, you have to work through these phases if you really want to create a life of impact. It takes resources in this world. It takes abundance. It takes more than just being a nice person who longs for happiness. Like if you want to really make an impact and leave a legacy in this world, you got to accumulate some stuff, right? So And for most people, it's very unlikely that they're going to fundamentally alter their quality of life if they don't either alter how much money they have, how much resources they have, or at least what they do to get resources, right? If you're in a miserable job, 60 hours a week, and you're trying to get happy, step number one is probably going to be shifting what you do to make money, right? So we deal in very pragmatic terms with these phases of legacy that we call income, growth, and wealth. And most people never get past the income phase. And so they're never able to build a true legacy, live a life of great impact, or frankly, even check off most of the items on their bucket list. So we take people through those phases. Now, if you want to hoist yourself up this ladder, hoist yourself up into the clouds, right? You need to generate some kind of lift. In terms of the visual metaphor that I'm going to build here, we need some kind of a lever, i.e. to use leverage to hoist ourselves up. There's a famous quote by Archimedes, Greek philosopher and scientist, who said, "Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I can move the world." Well, we're not trying to change the whole world, move the whole world, but we are trying to move our world, right? So we need a lever. But what's the lever? Well, from the day we're born, we're taught knowledge is power. Education is the key to a better life. The pen is mightier than the sword. Words have impact. Readers are leaders. Learners are earners. Math is the universal language. Those who do not know their history are doomed to repeat it, right? We're taught from the get-go that education and the acquisition of knowledge, that is the lever that we can pull on to shift the quality of our life. Even the American dream itself, the proverbial American dream that's existed for 100 plus years, has been largely based around access to education. It's not so much, oh, I will immigrate to America and have this amazing new life. It's I will immigrate to America and have some different opportunities to generate income and create savings and have access to education and put my kids into college and a sequence where they'll be better educated and they'll be able to get a better job based on better opportunities than I had in my home country. And they'll actually pull the family up into the American dream. It's a multi-generational construct, this American dream idea, and it's really based a lot around education, right? So this is nothing new. Now, as a practical matter, there are two types of education. And this is where school starts to break down a lot, right? Tactical knowledge is how to do stuff, how to do a thing, how to change your oil, how to clean your gun, how to plant your crop, right? Whatever, how to look through a telescope. And it's the same for everyone. And schools teach this. They teach courses, they teach tactics, they teach how to do stuff. But there's a whole other type of knowledge that's strategic knowledge, which is about critical thinking, problem solving, how to apply tactical knowledge, basically how to think strategically. And it's really hard for schools to teach this stuff because, frankly, a lot of schools are not populated with highly strategic thinkers. Usually, strategic knowledge is taught by coaches or consultants or mentors, people that have a lot of really, really relevant expertise in the specifically relevant subject matter. Knowledge, obviously, though, isn't enough. Just like a lever isn't enough to move anything. There has to be action. There has to be pressure. And pressure or action is the application of knowledge, right? But what happens if we just push on knowledge, for purposes of the metaphor, we just go push down on our lever, but we were missing something, right? We didn't have a fulcrum. Remember, Archimedes said, "Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I can move the world." So what is the fulcrum of our life? What bears the weight? What gives us the sturdiness and the stability to be able to apply force in the form of action and actually create lift that moves us up the ladder of legacy? The fulcrum is our habits. This is how we forge ourselves as a person. And in particular, I believe, and at ENTRE we teach, there are 3 types of habits that you have to build on top of one another to create a fulcrum strong enough to handle the exertion of massive action and make sure that you don't crumble or break down over time and that you're able to sustain the action and generate that lift, right? There's a lot of pressure on the fulcrum. Think about being underneath the jack of a car. That's all the jack of a car is. When you jack a car up, that you have a leverage mechanism, a lever that you're pulling, and they've built an internal fulcrum structure that then presses outward out the other side of the fulcrum. Think how much weight a jack has to bear. That's how strong you need to be with your personal habits. So we teach 3 types of habits, right? We teach physical, personal, and professional habits. Now at ENTRE, we go really deep and we have frameworks for how to organize these, how to track them, how to create key performance indicators across all your habits, how to optimize them, how to balance them, how to divide up your energy and your time. But at a high level, I'll just say that we stack our habits in order of self-interest or self-care. We start with physical because if you can't take care of one, you can't take care of multiple, and you certainly can't take care of many. And you can look at physical as an act of taking care of one. You can look at personal as an act of taking care of a few. It's your close relationships. It's your family. It's people you interact with directly. And ultimately, your professional habits are how you take care of the world, how you take care of your customers, how do you take care of your audience, how do you take care of, or how do you deliver value out there that can be traded transactionally for income, right? But if you can't take care of yourself, you're probably fooling yourself thinking that you've really got your habits dialed in and you're going to go take great care of 1,000 or 1,000,000 customers, right? So we stack our habits sequentially in that way. Now, if you just look at this diagram, we've basically got here everything that we need to move ourselves up, right? We've got the lever, we've defined the lever, we know how to strengthen and elongate the lever based on the accumulation of tactical and strategic knowledge. We have the fulcrum upon which the lever pivots. Those are our habits that we forge by what we do daily. We have the action, the specific pressure that we apply using our tactical and strategic knowledge to create the lift as we move ourselves through the phases of legacy, right? But there's two things here that have to be really strong. In other words, the fact that they're there isn't enough. They have to be strong enough to not break. And those are the load-bearing elements that have to be shored up. They have to be reinforced. Those are our habits and those are our environment. Think about, somebody trying to get ahead who has a really crappy environment. They're always getting pulled down by their friends. They're always getting criticized by their family. They're constantly having fear and doubt and insecurity reinforced. And, oh, it's not going to work. Oh, get your head out of the clouds. Oh, keep your feet on the ground. Oh, quit trying to think so big. Oh, lower your expectations. Oh, people like us don't do things like that. Oh, you're just trying to make the rest of your family feel bad, or stop wanting so much. It's selfish or greedy. Like, there's all this negative chatter out there. Or simply, I have these big visions. I even maybe have support around me. I know how to do what I do, but I just can't seem to make myself get up in the morning, or I can't seem to make myself sit down and actually do the work. I can't seem to focus for long periods of time. I'm lacking on discipline and habits, right? These two pieces have to be strong in order to bear up. So that's just something to understand, right? It's like a lot of times we have everything we need if we just do the work on our environment and or our habits to create the sturdiness that can allow us to operationalize the leverage and the opportunities that we have over time long enough and consistently enough to actually get the result. So let's ask a different question then, though. What determines how much leverage we actually have? There are two things that determine how much leverage you have in this physical equation. One is the length of the lever itself. In our terms here is how much knowledge do I have? If I don't know enough, I don't have enough leverage. If I know plenty, I have plenty of leverage. And also the placement of the fulcrum, right? So if you have a short little lever, you can see, even if your fulcrum is strong, that you just don't have enough leverage to create the lift, right? It's like holding the very back of a shovel and trying to lift the dirt. The dirt starts to feel really heavy because you're too far back on the shovel. You've shortened the lever. And then on the flip side, we can say, well, where is the fulcrum placed, right? If I move the fulcrum out, I lose leverage. Effectively, I do the same thing as shortening the lever. On the flip side, though, if I move the lever in like that, you can see I get more leverage the more I move the lever in. In fact, if I move the lever in, I can still actually make do with a shorter lever. This is why people, and you can see here in the diagram, I've defined the leverage as resources. Your capital, your tools, your network. Think about it. You could be the smartest scientist in the world that knows everything there is to know about the thing. But if you just don't have any network and you don't have any capital and you don't have a way to get your ideas out there and you're having to do everything by hand, you don't even have a calculator or QuickBooks or a computer or a cell phone or whatever, you're lacking knowledge, you're lacking capital, tools, and resources, then having all the knowledge doesn't do you any good. You're lacking leverage, right? But if you have capital, tools, and network, this is why a person who's maybe not even as smart doesn't have as much knowledge, but they have more capital. They can get more done. They have more resources. Their fulcrum is in closer, so they have more leverage even though they have a shorter lever of knowledge, right? So this is the framework for understanding your entire life. This is your life. You can look at this life or this picture and see, what am I missing? Where am I weak? What is breaking? What is giving out? What is not positioned properly? What is not assembled properly, right? And if you have all these pieces, you should be good to go. And if you're not good to go, if you're not already moving clearly and quickly in the direction of your passion, fulfillment, purpose, drive, legacy, and ultimately happiness, then it begs the question of what's missing. Now, like I said, at ENTRE, we go into much greater detail But I think I'm going to leave it here for now, just to help you kind of visualize your life. And maybe this is a good opening to say, hey, ask questions, leave comments below this video. Like, as you're looking at this, how are you seeing your own life? What's missing? What needs enhancement? What's already there in abundance? What is the gap? Why is it that maybe you're not already up there in the clouds? Is it just the passage of time? Is there something missing? And honestly, is there any way that I can help? Thank you. I hope this is helpful. If you have any, like I said, questions, comments, leave them in the comments below. I'd love a like on this video. I do this stuff because I love it. I'm interested in unlocking human potential and helping people find their true path in life, physically, personally, and professionally, to ultimately achieve success and fulfillment. And you can help me do more of that. Just give me a like. If you want more of this type of content, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you again. I'll look forward to chatting with you in the comments. Take care. Hey, if you liked this video, then you're gonna love this video. Instead of focusing on the thing that you're going after, focus on becoming the person for whom that simply becomes a natural outcome. It's about being the person, not obsessing on the result.